I'll start things off with grape lollipops. This is a perfect introduction to candy making. So the first thing I need to do is prepare my lollipop mold. You don't need to buy a fancy mold to make lollipops. You can actually create your own. What I have is a baking tray lined with parchment paper, and I'm going to sift 2 to 3 cups of icing sugar onto the tray. Have a nice thick layer of icing sugar. The amount you need really just depends on the size of your tray. Basically, you want about 1/2 inch layer of icing sugar. Just grab a spatula. When you're spreading out your icing sugar, do it loosely, don't pack it down. And the bigger the tray you use, well, the more lollipops you can fit on. Now that I have an even and pretty level layer, I can create my lollipop shapes. What you want to do is take a flat bottom glass in any shape you want and press it into the icing sugar, packing it right down. And take a little peek to make sure that you have clearance of about 1/4 inch, maybe just a little less, all the way around. This is where you're going to pour in your hot sugar to shape your lollipop. You can find lollipop sticks at some grocery stores, but definitely at stores that sell baking supplies. And I press it into the icing sugar so that one end of the stick goes right into the mold. There we go. Now I'm all set. What I love about making lollipops at home is the fact that you can control the flavor and the color, and you can go all natural. Using clear fruit juices is a great way to add flavor and color. So I'm making grape lollipops by using grape juice. I'm measuring out 1/2 cup of grape juice. Now on its own, this grape juice is too thin. It won't add enough flavor or color. So what I need to do is reduce it. I'll put it in a small sauce pot, turn up the heat on high, and I want to reduce this down to about 2 tablespoons by volume. This will only take a few minutes. And you could use any juice you want, so long as it's a clear juice. That way your lollipops are nice and clear. There we go. My juice is reduced to now a syrup, 2 tablespoons worth. Because the water has evaporated away, so you're left with that concentrated flavor, color, and sweetness. So now we're all set to start the actual lollipops. First, I put 1/4 cup of water in the bottom of my pot. That way, it makes it easier for the 1 cup of sugar I add to immediately start dissolving. You want to liquefy that sugar pretty quickly. And then, typical to a lot of candy making, corn syrup, white corn syrup, is a common ingredient. That really gets the clarity and the set to your candy making, so I'm adding 1/4 cup. I'll set my heat to high, which is how you cook all of your sugar when you're candy making. And that sugar boils, and it boils beyond 212 Fahrenheit. You want to cook it all the way to 300 degrees Fahrenheit. That's called hard crack in the candy making world, and it's before it turns to caramel, but yet it sets up so that your lollipops have a nice crunch. Using a thermometer is important in candy making. That's how you know you've hit your temperatures precisely. But as the sugar starts melting and coming to a boil, and throughout the process, I occasionally take a brush dipped in cool water and just brush the sides of the pot. This ensures that any sugar that might boil up and hit the side of the pot doesn't then cool down and crystallize. Give this a little check. I'm at 235. The goal is 300. I can tell I'm getting close because the bubbling of the sugar is starting to slow because the sugar itself is thickening up. There we go. Once your sugar hits the 300 degrees, take it off the heat, and then you want to add that concentrated grape syrup and give it a quick stir in. Immediately, it adds that gorgeous purple color, and I can smell the grape. Now you take your ladle and pour in to each mold. Make sure you're covering that lollipop stick. If you find your sugar is starting to set up on you, you can always put it back on the stove on low heat to re-melt the sugar. And this is where you can get creative with your decorations. You could add sprinkles, a few dragées like I'm adding, finish with a few more small ones. Once you're finished with your lollipops, you want to give them 15 to 20 minutes to set up. Then it's time to take them out of the icing sugar. They will have icing sugar on them from the mold. So first I take a little brush to brush them off and take a lightly moistened cloth or paper towel and just wipe off the icing sugar. And then I dry it off, and there you can actually see right through it. Once they're cleaned up and have had a chance to air dry a little bit, then you can pack them up in little cello bags for gifting or just store them in an airtight container until you need them. I bet you never guessed that making lollipops was actually so easy and all natural too. Love that nice grape flavor. It just looks so sweet.